So to round out the series we've been doing on developing golf speed through coordination, I wanted to add one final video. And this video being a video of an exercise, just one example, but of an exercise that would augment the golf swing specific movement patterns, which we refer to as progressive skills training. So I showed a whole series of progressive skills training exercises that went from developing foundational movements to more advanced movements to speed movements. We chose the short response plyo, but there's many other variations of all those types of exercises. In addition to the progressive skills training exercises, the ones that are very specific to the activity of interest, in this case golf, we can add more standard type exercises as augmentations. Now, what I really want to do with this video is to get you thinking outside the box in two primary areas. The first is just because an exercise looks like the activity does not mean it's functional, does not mean that it is impacting the activity, let's say a particular golf swing. Just because an exercise looks like a part of a golf swing or looks like the golf swing in general does not make it functionally effective. Okay? So what you really need to do is you need to think outside the box. You need to look at what are the components that make up speed development, or whatever aspect of the movement you're looking at. In this case, speed development. What are the components that make up speed development, and what exercises can we find that will highlight very specific aspects of those patterns of interest, okay? So it doesn't even have to look like the golf swing, it doesn't even have to come close to the golf swing in terms of the superficial look of it to have impact on the components that make up speed development. That's number one. Number two is start thinking about your training in terms of neuromechanical impact, and rather than say a physical attribute. All right, so you go into the gym. The standard concept is, okay, let's be stronger, more mobile, faster, powerful. But you're thinking about it in terms of physical attribute, which is important, and you want, obviously, that's a component. But most of what we're talking about is neural response or neuromechanical response. So when you're thinking about exercises, thinking about the coordination patterns, what are they evoking from a neural perspective, from a learning perspective, from an adaptation perspective, outside of the physical attribute, or in conjunction with the physical attribute? What are we trying to accomplish? Now remember, this is not for just general fitness training. This is for activity-specific sports performance. So what is it that we're trying to elicit out of the athlete? Just getting bigger and stronger is important, but getting bigger and stronger in certain ways, understanding the components that are important for bat speed or pitch velocity or club head speed or racket speed, whatever it might be. We want the exercise to not only have impact on the physical attributes that make up that performance, the strength, the mobility, the speed, but we want it to have a neural response, a patterning response. And to some degree, I would argue that the patterning response is more important. Okay, so I picked just one very simple exercise that is very specific to any distal end rotational swing development type or speed development type pattern, in this case obviously golf, and that is a kettlebell swing. There's many variations, but I'm going to show you two variations of the kettlebell swing that are really effective for helping create speed. Now, why do I choose kettlebell swing? All right, and we're not talking about the hip hinge swings that I see as popular, a lot of people are trying to do. We're talking about a full squat acceleration, distal end acceleration, which is typically going to do one arm. I'll show you some variations. But why did I pick this? Why is it important? Well, because speed development in the golf swing is related to your ability to drive the process with your legs, okay, your power production, control that speed production with the torso, the pelvis and the upper thoracic, the connection between the two, and accelerate the limbs and the distal end, the object you're holding in golf club, off of the core. So power, control, or horsepower, transmission, speed. Okay? When you do a kettlebell swing, you're driving the process with your legs, you're controlling it with the pelvis and the torso, and you're flinging the extremity and the implement away from your body. So even though it doesn't look like a golf swing, it has huge impact on the neural ability to drive, control, accelerate. Drive, control, accelerate. That's what you're trying to get across. So that's what I was saying earlier. Think about your exercises in a different light. Drive, control, fling. Drive, control, accelerate. If you have an exercise that emphasizes that pattern, you've got a golf power exercise. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Okay? Here's the two variations I like real quick. We'll cover it, and then we'll move on to something new for the next series. The first one I like is a kettlebell. I'm using actually a verve bell. It's the same thing. Kettlebell with a towel or a rope attached to it. Okay? Now again, you want to choke up on this because you don't want to be, we're not hip hinging, we're squatting with an acceleration up, up, up. Now, why is this important? Why do I use a towel? Because what most people do is they grab it and they muscle it with their upper body, just like they do in their golf swing. They muscle that swing with their upper body. We're trying to get away from muscling the club with the upper body. Tension, upper body swing. You're losing power, you're losing efficiency, and more importantly, the compensations impact the consistency of ball strike. Okay, not only the direction, but the consistency with which you're creating that direction. Okay, so what we're trying to do here with the towel is get rid of that connection. Right? So what we're doing is we're not gripping this is just a flimsy object. So what we're really forcing is the pelvis, off the leg drive, the pelvis to explode and control the acceleration and the arms to be flung. And really, when you're holding onto this, you're really having to fling the implement. You can't muscle it. You can't upper body dominate it. You've got to fling it. So as I show you from the side here. So you're basically working squat to thrust. I can't muscle that. I've got to jam on it with pelvis, leg drive, pelvis control, flinging the implement. So I like that variation to start the process. Get away from upper body muscling, go muscle with the upper body. Now, let's move away from, once we've gotten that ability to do that, one arm, okay? Not two arms, one arm. Why one arm? Well, when you do one arm, when you reach down through, you can see my pelvis, so I have a pretty much a square pelvis with maybe a little bit of turn. With upper thoracic, that's turned almost 45 degrees. And when I come up, not only am I coming, so it looks like a planar movement, but really what it is when I come up, I'm not only coming up out of the squat to create power, but I'm actually rotating my pelvis and I'm rotating my upper thoracic. So I'm squaring things back up. So I went from 40, maybe 20 to 45 back to neutral. So I actually have a kinetic link, a rotational kinetic link, in combination with learning how to accelerate the distal end. So we'll go again, single arm, squat, snap, squat, snap. You can do both sides, obviously. For a left-handed or for a right-handed golfer, left arm is actually more important to some degree than the right arm with this exercise. But we do it symmetrically, both sides. Snapping up. Again, squat, hammer that out with the pelvis, let the extremity just fly. Okay, from the side. And we'll say go out on the other side a couple. So again, this pattern is absolutely critical to golf swing performance from a power perspective, but also just a generally consistency of movement. Doesn't look like a golf swing, but it has huge impact on the golf swing. So again, think outside of the box. It doesn't have to look like the activity to have impact. It has to have impact on certain very key patterns. So think about it. Any distal end acceleration pattern, golf swing included, drive, power, control, fling, or acceleration. Any pattern that has those components is going to impact in a positive way, impact your ability to create speed. When I swing the golf club, I drive with my lower body, power. I control with my core, and I fling the extremities and the club, and the club or the most distal end, the implement itself. Right? Again, power, control, fling. Power, control, fling. Same pattern. Absolutely crucial. This is going to help you develop coordination, neural response, as well as physical attribute for strength and power and explosiveness. But mostly it's a neural adaptation. It's a neural contributor or having a neuromechanical impact. So again, think about it. It doesn't have to look like a golf swing. It has to impact golf swing, key golf swing movement parameters. And then secondly, think of your exercises as neural impactors, not necessarily physical. You're going to get the physical attribute out of it regardless. Okay, I'm going to get stronger swinging a heavy weight. But look for patterns, especially when you're talking about sports performance, not just general fitness, but look for patterns that are going to have a certain neural impact, regardless of what they look like. And think of your exercises as neural adaptations more than physical attribution adaptations.